Denver's national profile got mixed reviews this week as Virginia and New York won Amazon's HQ2 bid. But Denver International Airport was named the #1 airport in the country by the Wall Street Journal. Meanwhile, representatives of the U.S. Olympic Committee came to Colorado this week to discuss Denver's potential bid for the 2030 Winter Olympic Games. David, I imagine if anybody out there has corporate welfare on their David Kopel CIO bingo cards, they're about to get a hit, aren't they?
They sure are. So for DIA, it's the best airport in the country for shopping and dining. Your main thing, and so if you're connecting through it and you've got a 3-hour connection, great, lots of stuff to do. It is the furthest airport from the city center in the United States, other than Dulles Airport in Washington, D.C., and even they've got Reagan National Airport, which is close. And the TSA lines, according to the Wall Street Journal data, are the worst at DIA of any place else. So if you put aside the traveling aspect of DIA, it's outstanding. Denver, Colorado's national profile is great because thank you to the Colorado voters, to Douglas Bruce, and to everybody, my predecessors at the Independence Institute who helped pass the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, which greatly limited how much welfare could be offered to Amazon to come to Colorado. They ended up going to New York City and Arlington, Virginia, where they're going to get $2 billion. This is one of the richest companies in the world, one of the richest men in the world, and they're going to take money out of the tap pockets of the working people in those cities and give them to billionaires. I think it's appalling. It's everything that's wrong with government. Colorado doesn't need any more. I don't think Colorado needs more growth in general. We certainly shouldn't subsidize it. Thank goodness Amazon found bigger suckers in other cities, but it's contrary to, government is supposed to be for the common good, and it is not supposed to do wealth transfers from the guy who's making $10 or $15 an hour to put in the money of billionaires. But when you allow government involvement with business, this is exactly the kind of disgusting things that happen.
Ed, you're a guy at the Denver Business Journal. I got to imagine you'll be able to answer this question well. Was this a good or bad week for Denver?
I think as a whole, it's a middling week for Denver. And I say that focusing mostly on Amazon. Yes, people wanted Amazon to come here. I mean, originally this is a company that was looking at a $5 billion economic impact, 50,000 jobs. Clearly they split it up between two areas here. And there's a lot of things that, not winning that means that we still got, to do our own recruiting of companies, of growing of our own companies, retaining of our own companies to kind of build up for that future workforce as well. At the same point, however, a lot of people looked at Denver just being in the mix this far as being a win, and I think only after you saw the final decision did a lot of people come out and say, look, I got to be honest, we never saw ourselves as being up there at the top of the list. Anyway, Tom Clark, the former Metro Denver EDC director, put it well. He's like, Amazon wants to take over the world. You take over the world from the East Coast, not by building your next headquarters 800 miles from your current headquarters. So Denver had population disadvantages. Denver had geographical disadvantages. Overall, it learned a little bit too. And here's what people are saying. Hopefully we learned a little bit about, we talked to Amazon honestly about our problems with transportation and affordable housing. Well, why don't we go fix them now? Now that we've talked about them so much for the last year, why don't we take that energy and say, okay, Amazon's not going to help us. We're going to have to help ourselves with that. As far as DIA goes, that's nice. It's one accommodation for us. I will say we also have extremely low prices at DIA, which went into that ranking as well. And as far as the Olympics goes, this is going to be a tough road ahead, especially if both European cities drop out of the bidding for the 2026 Winter Olympics, because then it will almost automatically go to Salt Lake because it'll be ready to host it, and they're not going to put it in this country, same country 2 cycles in a row.
Chris, I'm going to piggyback right where Ed left off. It feels that they're coming to Denver to see if we want to do the Winter Olympics, but the people don't seem to want to do it. We have a history of already saying no to the Winter Olympics. Salt Lake City has already proved they could do it just not that many years ago. They seem like you do it to be nice, almost like, certain visits around the holidays. You've got to go over to a certain family member's house because it's the holidays. You got to do your thing, but you don't necessarily really want to be there. This is not going to really go that way. That's what it seemed with the Olympic Committee this week. maybe I'm being cynical. What do you think?
You know what? I think if we don't get it, we will have dodged a bullet. I mean, just as with Amazon, there's a lot of expense on the taxpayers. Yeah, there's benefit, and in case of Amazon, there's jobs, but you're also milking the taxpayer, and it's really hard on small businesses who don't get the same tax advantages. Similar with the Olympics, you got to build this whole Olympic city. You got to do all this stuff. Yeah, it's fun, and maybe some of us in the press could get like passes and go to stuff. But I'm thinking, you know what? Send it to Idaho.
For the record, I would love to go to the curling match. Being there for the
You're a curling fan?
Oh, absolutely. You could do that sport forever. People can be doing that at 65 years old, 20 pounds overweight, a world champion curler.
It's called Canada Winter Alcohol Rock Stick.
What is it missing? What is it missing? Exactly. Patty, we could probably go on for a long time here. This seemed like a tough week for the Sally Field of Cities.
I actually think it was a good week. Let's not forget, just last week, we were the coolest floor of the dorm in just because of pot, beer, and Jared Polis. So we didn't need Amazon. And in fact, if you looked at the comments that people have said, people did not want Amazon. They were worried already about traffic. They were worried about rent. And that would have only made it worse. Better to grow internally and help local businesses than give Jeff Bezos, who really does not need a big handout. The Olympics is another one that people are very, very concerned about, much more about traffic and what it would do. And even though the exploratory committee set up by Hancock has said, we will not, it'll be privately funded, no one believes that. Certainly the traffic is going to impact public transportation. So, and if it actually, there is going to be a ballot measure on the May measure in Denver to put it to a vote of the state. I mean, so we're not going to avoid a vote on the Olympics. That's going to always be a problem. As for DIA, let's hope this is not jinxing Thanksgiving travel.